This hair, I mean, there's not that much to say about it. It's just like a shaved hair. I don't really know how to rank this one because it's not bad. It is what it is. It's like a shaved but not completely bald hair. I guess it is basically the definition of not completely trash. So I think that's what we will go for. It's not bad. The texture also is not too bad. There's some hairs. There's like the mohawk that we're going to come on to soon. The like flatness of that, I don't know whether it's supposed to be shaved or just smoothed over. I don't know, but there's just no texture. Whereas this bald-ish hair, there is some texture to it. So that's why, I mean, I'm not completely mad about it. Although this hair, it's like a mini mohawk, I guess. That little point, I don't get it. It's not terrible. I would not put it in the worst category for sure, but it's the point. It's just, I don't get the point. I'm on fire today. Or at least I like to think so. I don't get the point of the point. It's just strange. It's not good. It's essentially the whim system. This is such a cool ranking. Like, if I do say so, I've got so much confidence today. Like, the whim system, I don't get the point of it. This pointy hair, I don't get the point of it. It all just marries together absolutely beautifully. Also, I just looked back at rotating the hair, and this is another case of the triangles. So yeah, that is just, it's not fantastic. It's strange. I don't get it. But anyway, this next hair, I personally think is one of the best short hairs in the game. The texture is not fantastic, but I don't think the texture of any of these hairs is fantastic. That's why I've put the top tier as not completely trash. None of the textures are that great, but I think ranked amongst some of them, it's not terrible. I kind of like the slicked back look. If I was to make a base game sim and give them short hair, I probably would give them a hair like this. I actually quite like it, so I am definitely going to put it as not completely trash. It's not bad. I think, yeah, like I say, the texture's not fantastic, but I think compared to some, it's okay. It's not too bad. So with this next hair, it's very frustrating because the ponytail itself, I am actually a very big fan. I think it's probably most realistic to a ponytail. So we talked about that other hair, which had that weird like flick. But this one, the way it's almost kind of loose. Again, similar to like this bun. It looks like you've had that ponytail in for a little while. It's got a bit looser. I kind of like that, but the front of it is awful. Like, it's shiny, it's got those weird, what is it with the two strands? I don't get it. But I like the ponytail, so I think because of that I'm going to do it as whim system. But that's definitely a common theme of, from the back the hairs aren't too bad, but from the front they're bad. They're pretty bad. Now this hair reminds me of Ruby Rose. I don't know if it's just me. Again, for a short hair, it's not too bad, especially in comparison to some of the others. I don't love it. I do think it's got quite a lot of volume at the top. I think if they'd just done it slightly more smoother and shorter, slightly less voluminous, I think it would have been a bit better. But I think I'm going to rank this one as meh, because it's not bad, but it's not that good either. And I never find myself tempted to use this hair when I'm playing in the game. So we're going to call it meh. Listen, this hair, again, with the Christmas tree flicks, it's just, why? I don't understand why it's so flicky. You get hairs like these two that are just so like there's so many with like no texture, and they're just so like either straight up and down or just poofy, whatever. But then when they do try and add like a little bit of texture, a little bit of flair, they just add flicks. It's weird. It's like she's got really thick split ends that are just like sticking out of her hair. It's really, and it also kind of looks like she cut her hair herself. So this hair, in my personal opinion, can 100% get in the bin. I once again find myself looking at what is essentially a selection of triangles on the head of a sim. That's what this hair is. However, again, it's not, for a short hair, I think some of the short hairs are really awful and some of them are not too bad. And I don't think this one is actually too bad. I kind of like, I like the front, and I like I think the thickness is right, the volume is right. The texture is not fantastic, but again, we are ranking them against other base game hairs, which also are very, very, very far from fantastic. So I personally would rank this one as cats and dogs. If the back texture was just a lot smoother, I would probably rank it not completely trash. But again, it's just got that weird texture. And then, again, with the absolute murdering of fringes, poor fringe reputation in the game. And again, I find it so possibly hypocritical that someone with a block fringe is complaining about block fringes. But they just make it look weird, like really, really unstylish. Again, with the flicky ponytail, the weird, also, I didn't mention it, but the fringes, where this one kind of the same as well, but like when they do fringes, they do like weird, like, it's like a block, and then they just do like a little spiky cut at the bottom. It looks just really like half-assed, in my opinion. As a huge advocate of fringes, it's not for me. So I think this one can get in the bin. I would happily see this one gone from the game, to be honest. So this next one, I kind of like it. I find it a bit odd, the back, the way it's like that kind of gradient hair. But it's not terrible. I quite like it. Again, if I was making a sim with short hair, I was going to say a hair with short sim, a sim with short hair, this one would definitely be a big temptation for me. So I think I'm going to put this one in cats and dogs. I probably prefer this short hair to this one, but this one is not bad by any means. So I think cats and dogs is pretty appropriate. And then this hairstyle, I can't really see it in the picture, but you can see it in the spinny video. It's so plain, this hairstyle. It's completely slicked back. The hairstyle is just, there's not really much to say about it. I mean, I appreciate there's no triangles, there's no odd flicks, so it's not terrible, but again, it's kind of boring. One thing I really like about custom content hairs, and I've noticed is a bit of a trend recently for Sims 4 hairs, both in an updated base game hair and some of the ones that came with Nifty Knitting, is baby hairs. But apart from, I think those like two hairstyles, generally hairlines are just really boring in a lot of the Sims 4 hairs. And I feel like with one of the things that's really great about custom content hairs, they really pay attention to like little flicks of hairs, and you can do it with like a little side fringe, main fringe, whatever. So I think this probably could have benefited from like a little bit more interest in the hairline area. So I'm going to put it as meh. I wouldn't say it's a bad hairstyle. I mean, they're all kind of bad. But I wouldn't say it's that bad a hairstyle, but it's also not that great. And if I wanted a ponytail, honestly, I would just get custom content. So it's kind of meh. So this is another short hairstyle. The texture is... I don't really know what to think about the texture. I'm not someone who has this kind of hairstyle. I think it's possibly a hairstyle that's more targeted towards Sims of color, and so I don't really feel comfortable talking about how well it's executed, but personally I don't mind it. Again, I think it's quite okay. I don't think the texture is that offensive. It's not too slick and not too voluminous. I think it's kind of okay. I'd probably put this one as cats and dogs. It's not like middle of the road. It's okay, but not too bad. I don't even know if I'm making sense anymore, but it's just cats and dogs, so we're going to accept that. And then this next hairstyle is one of the ones that recently got updated with the skin tone patch update, and I like it. I like the fade, the sides. I kind of like the texture of the hair. Again, it's not a hairstyle that I have ever had, ever will have, so I can't comment too much about the texture of it, not as much as I can the fringes, of course. But I appreciate what they did with this hairstyle. I think it looks a lot better. If you haven't checked out my video where I compare the updated hairstyles, then you can. I recommend you do. Please do. But in the meantime, I like it. I really like what they did with the updated hairstyles. So I'm probably going to put this one as not completely trash. I kind of like it, to be honest. Okay, so this hair has a really bad texture. Again, those really bad layers that we saw kind of in this one. As I was rotating the sim, you could really see the way that the hair is layered. It doesn't look very realistic. It's super this is what I'm talking about when I say that hairs are either too big or too kind of slick, and you know what I mean. Because the hair is just so like straight up and down with like those little flicks. And yeah, the texture's weird, the layer's weird. I don't like this hair at all. I would never use this hair. So I'm going to throw it in the bin. And speaking of the bin, we have the mohawk. And I feel like this is a difficult one because mohawks obviously aren't nearly as popular as they used to be. And it's not a hairstyle that personally I enjoy. But it's even worse when it's on a sim. I'm sorry. Because, let's be real, the part that's not in a mohawk, like the actual head bit, again, I don't know whether it's supposed to be shaved or slicked. I'm not really sure. I'm guessing shaved. But I don't know because it's got absolutely zero texture to it. The mohawk is really long. I mean, I think the actual mohawk part, although I'm not a big fan of it, that's probably because I'm personally not a big fan of mohawks in real life, but I do think it's kind of like a real life mohawk, which I do kind of appreciate, but I hate the fact that the non-mohawk part of the hair, it just looks really bad. This is another hair that to me kind of looks a bit half-assed. Like they focused on the mohawk and they were like, what do we do for the rest of the head? I don't know, just make it brown. Like, yeah, I really don't like it. But I do appreciate that the mohawk part, I think, looks kind of like what you would see in real life, I guess you could say. So I'm probably going to put this one in Wim's system. And then this hair, I appreciate what they were trying to do with the thick hair. I personally have very thick hair. My hair kind of looks like this, you know, with added fringe. But it's just the way that the hair like falls on the shoulders. Again, it's just a case that they just really haven't managed to achieve a natural flow of hair. I think it's just the way that it kind of falls over the shoulders and like almost like threads through itself. I don't really know. It's a difficult one to explain. I just find it very, Very strange. I don't really get it, but I also don't think it's the worst hair ever. I think it could do with a lot of improvements, but it's not terrible. So I'm going to put this hair as meh, I think. Yeah. So this hair, again, with the triangles, it's just... I don't know. I don't like it. The hairline as well. I don't know. I hate the triangles. I think it's one of those things, once you notice them, it's really bad. This hair is so bad that it made my phone stop recording because I ran out of storage. I don't know. I'd kind of say it's meh. I feel kind of like I can't judge for the blocky triangleness because it's on so many hairs, and I don't know, it's not the worst, it's not the best, it's probably not one that I would use, but hey, it's okay. It's probably the definition of meh. But what is not the definition of meh is another pointy guy. It's but even worse than the last one. It's like the pointy guy but on steroids. Like this point is so defined, it's so thick. There's only so much I can say except just get in the bin. Why does it need to be that big? What business does it have pointing up at the sky like that? It's weird. Now this hair, controversially, talking about unpopular opinions of The Sims, I actually have a bit of an affinity to this hair. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's terrible. Like, it's really trash. I can't rate it any better than Get in the Bin. But I actually kind of like it because I remember when the base game came out, back in 2014, I got it the day it came out. I was super excited. There was no pools, there was no ghosts, no toddlers. It was a bit of a dark period for The Sims. And then before there was any packs, before there was all the amazing custom content that we have now, I almost always use this hair for my female Sims. It's not that great, but I kind of like it. I mean, I personally don't think it's that bad, in my personal opinion, but purely for the principle, I have to say Get in the Bin, because it's flicky, the texture's bad, and I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. And then this hair is just another in a long line, weird textures. There's only so much I can say at this point. It's very, very similar to this hair. It's just probably, it's a lot thick. This one's slightly more textured and it's got more like strands of hair, clumps of hair. I don't know. This one's a lot more blocky, a bit less texture, but it's very, very similar. So I think I'm just going to have to say that it is too meh. And this one is very similar to this one. I didn't do the same hair, did I? I don't know. Maybe it's slightly different. It feels like maybe the hairline's slightly different, but it's almost exactly the same. So I think I'm going to have to cats and dogs that one and call it a day. And this hairstyle, it's kind of also Karen-y, and I appreciate what they were going for, but it makes the back of the head like huge for some reason, and it's very it's kind of 2000s style. I don't know if that's just me, but it's probably quite on point with the amount of crop tops and low-rise jeans that we have in the game. It's like the perfect hair to accompany that. But as with the copious amount of crop tops and low-rise jeans, this hairstyle needs to well and truly get in the bin. And finally, we have a good fringe. I'm kidding, this is possibly the worst of them all. It's so terrible. I absolutely hate this hairstyle. The texture's odd, the hair length is not flattering. Again, I just noticed the video, it's stripy, the fringe has that weird blockiness with like a little cut at the bottom. There really is no justice for fringes in The Sims 4, and it makes me really sad. I feel like I'm gonna cry. No, this hair is atrocious, so it needs to get in the big fat bin. But moving away from fringes, thank God. This hair I don't like. Again, I kind of appreciate the side swept number, but kind of like the bunches here. It's just really twisty, and again, it's just they just can't capture the natural flow of hair for some reason. It's not bad, and it's quite thick, so it kind of looks like my hair when I flick it to the side, which I kind of appreciate, but I don't know, it just seems really, really unnatural, and I feel like this could be gorgeous hair if done better. So where better to place this than Whim System? And then this hair, I actually think it's quite nice. I kind of like the back of it. I think the texture is not too bad, especially compared to some of the other ones. It's a really great formal updo. Again, two little flicky bits, very commonality. Side fringe. I don't know, there's only so much I can kind of say about this hairstyle. I think it is quite nice for formal attire, so I would probably say that this hairstyle is very cats and dogs, so I'm going to place it here. It's not terrible. I think it's quite good. There's not really much else I can say, but I also not that huge a fan of it, so I wouldn't say it's not completely trash. It's just kind of cats and dogs. This hair frustrates the hell out of me because it's probably the most similar to my hair, which is really upsetting because I absolutely hate it. So I don't know what that says. But when you kind of turn it to the side, it's just so like, the way it's angled and just the way like it flicks at the bottom, the way the fringe is too thick, it's the shape of it, the texture of it. I don't like this hair, but it's also kind of my hair, which makes me sad. I would say that this hair is kind of Whim's system. There's definitely worse ones. Like, I wouldn't put it in the same category as the clown hair, but it's also not the best. So I'm probably going to put it in Whim's system, which makes me sad. There's no justice for fringes. I don't know how many times I need to say it. This hair is a big fat mess. Like, I don't know how they got this hair so wrong, but it's really thick, but also just like there. It's really ugly. I would honestly say this is actually one of the worst hairstyles in the game. I don't get it. I don't get what the point of it is. It's like the way that the hair is just kind of like clumped together and flicked. I honestly think this is actually one of the worst hairs in the game. Sorry, not sorry. So we're putting it in the bin once and for all. This hairstyle, is it just me? But it really reminds me of The Sims 2. I feel like we would find this in The Sims 2, and there's a nostalgia part of me kind of likes it. I kind of appreciate it. So, but it's also not that good. It's not a good hairstyle. I'm not saying that Sims 2 hairs are good. It's just got a bit of a nostalgic feel to it. I would put this kind of meh. If I was going for bunches, I would go for these over these, like the shorter ones. But again, it's okay. It's meh. What more can I say? This hair coming on towards the end. Thank God, my phone's got like 0 storage left. This one, I like this one. I love the cute little bow bun at the back. I love the kind of little twist of the hair. Again, I use this one quite a bit for formal attire if I'm doing base game or non-custom content. Yeah, I actually really, really like this hair. So I would say that this hair is not completely trash. Yeah, I really like it. It's also a bit shiny, but again, for a formal attire, I think that's kind of cute, kind of bougie. I'm never going to say that ever again in my life. Moving on to this hairstyle, which I did mention in my base game update overview video. I really think this should have been #1 priority for updating base game hairs. Texture is terrible. Supposedly they modeled it off of a cauliflower. It's just, there's no more I could say about it. They're just a big afro. I like that they've included it. Don't get me wrong, but I really think they just need to update this one. I imagine they're probably going to update it because I think we're getting another update in November as well as the December update. So maybe they'll fix this one. I don't know, but I can just hope and pray because I would love to use this for my Sims. It's just bad. It's just bad. But speaking of updated base game hairs, these were the braids that got updated, and I pointed out in my video that the hairline was awful. It was just a pure straight line. It looked really, really weird, but they fixed it up. They added baby hairs. Like I say, that's a bit of a trend. I can see that they really are trying to improve some of the hairlines in the game, which I like. And you can tell they've really improved the texture, even like in between the braids. You can see the way that it's kind of, you know, there. Again, not really qualified to talk about braids, but I can tell that this has really been worked on to improve, and I love it. So, well, I love it in terms of standards of base game hair, so I would say this one is not completely trash. This hair, again, I appreciate what they're trying to do. The space buns trend, super cute. This sim reminds me of myself, because, well, this hair reminds me of myself, I guess, because space buns are really cute, but when I try to do them, they do not look good. And when the Sims team tries to do them, I did actually download a custom content version of this that made the buns bigger and closer together, which I think sums it up. They're just unusually small buns. And they're really far apart. They look, I mean, I get that they're called space buns, but they're just a little bit too alien for my liking, but I can see what they were trying to do. So I'm going to put it as Whim's system. Yeah, pretty happy with this choice. So these next two hairs, kind of going to talk about them together because one is just a plain version, one is a dyed version. I like it. Again, I appreciate they're doing a nice long plait. Is it a fishtail? Hold on. Yeah, it's like a fishtail braid, which is, again, kind of cool, nice and long. Side swept fringe. I kind of like it, but the dyed version, I don't like. And the dye in The Sims 4 does not work. It looks so out of place, like the colours they choose. And I hate that you can't choose, because we don't have creator style like we had in The Sims 3. If you want brunette hair like this, you have to have blue and purple highlights. You can't have, say, blonde highlights or red highlights or whatever. And because of that, their color choices are so wrong. I don't know why. So I don't like the dyed version. I would probably put the non-dyed version of Cats and Dogs. I think it's good. It's not amazing, but it's quite good. But the dyed version, I would put as get in the bin, because it actually does remind me of The Sims 3, because in creator style with Sims 3, you could choose like the roots, the highlights, the lowlights, and then the main hair color. And sometimes it looked truly terrible. Like you first start experimenting it and you've got like blonde hair with like dark black roots and then like bright blue highlights. It looked absolutely terrible. And this is really what it reminds me of. Yeah, I think that they used Sims 3 creator style for these hair dyes and it did not work. And then finally down to the last four hairstyles. These two are so similar. I got so confused. I never really like noticed them in the game, but basically this one has a little bit of poofiness that this one doesn't have. This one's a bit more flat in the head, but apart from that, they are so similar. And I don't think removing that little poof really helped the hair. It's okay. Again, I actually kind of like the side swept hairs. I mean, so I quite like this one. This one's not terrible. Yeah, I would say both of these are kind of meh. I have to rank them together because they are the identical hairs with the slightest difference. I don't really know why, of all the hairs, this one has been put in twice with only that tiny difference. I'm not quite sure why. But yeah, it's okay. There's not really much you can say about it, I guess. Or maybe I've just run out of words, run out of drink. I don't know. You can decide for yourself. But we're on to the last two hairs. Thank God. But they're not any good because, sorry. This one, again, the dye is just, it's really bad. I mean, look at the way that it's like that bluey, greeny, turquoisey colour and the brown and the way it blends in and the choppiness and the triangleness and the chunkiness of the hair. Again, it's also kind of quite 2000s as well. It's the kind of hairstyle I'd imagine Pink would have. I don't know. And I loved Pink. I love Pink. But this is like 2000s Pink, like kind of punky, weird experimental hair dye. Just not good. Pink would have done it a lot better, don't get me wrong. And then finally, we have this bun. See, this one's kind of the opposite of it. It's sleeker to the head, but bigger bun, whereas that one is bigger in the head and then a little bun. Like, this is when you first do the bun, and then this is how the bun turns out. And I think because of that, for our final hair, I mean, it's okay. It's really nothing special, so I think this one very much deserves the title of meh. And there we have it. We are finally done with our ranking. There's definitely a lot more get in the bins than there are not completely trash, but did we expect anything else? I don't think so. I actually had a lot of fun doing this, and I don't think it was just the Diet Coke that I was drinking. So I absolutely loved making this video. It's really fun to go through the base game hairs. I think 6 years into The Sims, so many expansion packs, so much custom content that you kind of forget what the base game hair actually looks like. And quite how bad it actually is. So, but they're not all bad, and I hope that I showed this in this video. If you liked it, then please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think they're all trash? Do you think they're okay? I want to know what you think. But until my next video, bye!